Welcome to Election 2018 on CRPA News. Today we have radio host Philip Neiman of the Firing Line Radio Show, heard on AM 590 The Answer in the Inland Empire and beyond. Philip is a friend and member of the California Rifle Pistol Association, working with us to defend your rights here in the Golden State. Welcome, Philip.
Thank you, Rick. Thanks for having me.
Today we're here to talk about the issue of the 8 million gun owners here in California who are eligible to vote, but for some reason never seem to make it to the polling place on election days, and then wonder why we face the anti-firearm issues we do here. I know, Phil, we have worked on getting out the vote together back in 2016, fought against Prop 63 side by side, and now you have a focused program you started to work on back during that election that you're deploying in the Inland Empire that could be literally used, in my opinion, by 2A advocates statewide. Tell us a little bit about that plan.
Thank you, Rick, and absolutely, it's extremely simple. For those of us who have ever purchased a firearm, raise your hand, right, that's you. You know in the state of California that in addition to waiting your 10 days, you're going to have between 10 and 20 minutes, depending upon the speed of the clerk, of downtime just filling out paperwork. And what it appears to us, as Chuck Michel gave us the numbers of 8 to 10 million registered gun owners who are not showing up to vote, that maybe what we need to do is capture gun owners while they're purchasing a firearm and asking them to register to vote. So the program goes like this. We deliver voter registration forms to all of the FFLs in our areas. We instruct the store owners what they need to do, and it's as simple as this. The customer decides to purchase a firearm. So the store clerk hands him the 4473 form. At the same time, he says, this is what you need to do to purchase your firearm. Hand him the voter registration form and say, this is what you need to do to keep your firearm. Because folks, if you're not willing to sign up for vote to keep your rights, you're only renting that firearm. You're not owning it, you're a renter. And it's very, very easy. For the gun store side, they simply need to pass it out to them and explain that nice and clearly. And if somebody says, I'm already registered, the polite response would be, that's great, but we never know where we're going to be in June for the primaries. Very, very important for sheriffs and everything else. Very important all the way around, but specifically for local races. Or maybe you get drawn for that wonderful elk hunt in November, and now you're not here for that. So re-register, please, with a mail-in ballot. That way you know that your vote is going to get cast, and we're making sure that nobody's going to tell the gun owners, I don't want to register. I don't want to be on a list, Rick.
Right.
I don't want them calling me for jury duty, so I'm just going to give up to vote. And you know, if you don't vote, you don't count. That's the way Sacramento works. So you need to make sure that we have 8 million registered firearm owners. You're already a registered firearm owner, but you're not voting. So we have to capture that. Now the gun stores themselves, how much are they out, right? Well, number one, they fill out that paperwork. They fold it in half, staple it or tape it, put it in the outgoing mail. The voter registration form is already pre-postage. So they're not out 45 cents. They're really not out any time. And frankly, for you FFL owners, gun store owners, this is your future. This is your business. This is how you provide for your family. And you need to have your customer base become the voting base. That's how you're going to protect your interests in the long run. And it's very simple. So we have captains that have several people under them that will cover certain gun stores. We make sure that they have this discussion with the owners. We're delivering the voter registration forms to the company, the individual gun stores. But it has to be pushed by the gun store owners, and the salespeople, the sales clerks. Your job, guys, is on the line, because Gavin Newsom wouldn't mind seeing you out of work.
He would love that.
Absolutely, you know, and he's not alone. There's several others in there. If you have a place like Los Angeles County,
correct.
Why does Los Angeles County not issue CCWs?
Because they have Sheriff McDonald in there, because we can't get gun owners out to vote.
So if the gun owners showed up in Los Angeles County and voted for a pro-2A candidate, CCWs would be issued. Those of you who are complaining, oh, I can't get one, it's this, it's that. Hey, if you haven't got off the couch, you know, G-O-Y-A, get off your couch and get in the fight. If you're not getting off the couch and getting involved in this and just showing up to vote or mailing in your ballots or getting involved in something like this, you're giving up. And if you're not registered to vote, you don't count.
Phil, you brought up several points in there that we've talked about previously, and one of them is we get stuck with the people we have in Sacramento simply because our community doesn't vote, and they make up inane reasons why not to go to the polls. What are some of those reasons that you hear when you're out? Because I know both of us are at sometimes similar events. You're out there with the radio show, I'm out there talking to people. Share with our audience some of the things that you hear people say as why they don't engage in this right of theirs to vote, that so many people around the world don't have the right to vote.
It really is amazing, especially when you look at the pro-2A crowd, our freedom-loving people. They're very patriotic, but we're giving up on this. I hear a lot of it, well, my vote doesn't count anyway. It's rigged. I hear, this is the one that drives me most insane, is, oh, I'm moving to Arizona anyway. Because, progressive liberalism knows no borders, right? There is no escaping it. If we don't quarantine this infection in California and cure it here, it will simply infect the other states. You can't move away from it. This is your civic responsibility. Rick, I was in your office earlier today, and there's a beautiful replica of a Kentucky or Pennsylvania made Kentucky rifle.
Pennsylvania rifle, but yeah.
Beautiful replica of it, and you told the story of some of the family members that were involved in that. 3% of the population was involved in the revolution that gave us this country. I see a lot of stickers out there that say 3%. Guys, we're not asking you to give your last bit of blood, your family's honor, your all of your treasure. We're asking you to register to vote. And how can you honor the memory of those people who gave us this country when you fail to not vote?
It's funny you brought that up. One of the things I used to argue with my grandfather before he passed was he used to say that at the founding of the country, the ships were made of wood and the men were made of steel. But as time has progressed, those two things have switched, and that eventually men would be made of toothpicks. And
or snowflakes.
Right, and I was offended by that as a young man, but now as I've gotten older, I've started to realize that many in our community are like those toothpicks. And the only way we can get them to not snap is we got to get them to come together as one solid bundle and return to being people of steel and putting our feet and our hands and our mouths where that Constitution lies. And that Constitution starts at the ballot box and will end if we don't show up at the ballot box.
In California, with what they have for the top two, if we don't have a strong enough showing with a pro-2A candidate, and I don't care what party it is, but pro-2A, there's really only one party in California. But if we don't have a strong showing, you're not going to have a choice in November. If you're not registered and voting for this primary this June, you're not going to see a choice in November. And that's for your congressmen, it's for the state senates, it's for the governor's race, it's for the sheriffs that issue CCWs or choose not to issue you a CCW based on their own personal belief. Counter any law, that's their right. They have the ability to do that in California. So we're dealing with that. But if you want to see things changed, you have got to get involved. And that, again, we say this all the time. It's GOYA. That's get off your couch and get in this fight. Because it doesn't cost you anything. It costs you absolutely nothing. The voting is free. Register for the mail-in vote. You have to do this. You have to get the people you know. Gun ranges, okay? So at a gun range, you have to go there, you have to fill out a waiver. So we want the gun range owners to hand them the voter registration form. It says this is what you need to do if you want to come here next year. You have to register to vote and vote correctly. That's what you need to do. Training, guys who are doing training, Boy Scout leaders. I was told that on the statewide ballot, there's a new ballot for statewide. You can register 16 and 17-year-olds to vote.
And you can also get some illegal aliens, it's rumored, to be able to vote.
That's on the form. So church groups, Boy Scouts, pre-sign them up. If that's available, let's get them all done. But it's absolutely important that we show up because in the last election, California overwhelmingly came out for Hillary Clinton, but the number who voted for Hillary Clinton for president is still lower than the smallest number of registered gun owners in California. There was no reason for that.
What has been the response that you have seen already where you've been able to deploy this?
Well, unfortunately, I have seen some gun store owners like, well, it's not really our business. And that has been shocking to me. From the public, it's like, yeah, why weren't we doing this all along?
Right.
So, it's again, we have to have the right attitude, and, positive people get things done and negative people stop momentum. So it's important, hey, maybe you don't want to do this, but you do it anyway, and you do it with a smile on your face, and maybe you were able to get 300 extra voters in your city that got the right congressman elected. Maybe they got the right state legislator elected. Maybe it stopped somebody from entering the political field who would be a disaster for the Second Amendment crowd. So it's very, very important that we get everybody in and understand that this is a long row. The opposition has been doing this forever. They have the DMV to register their voters. We have to use the gun stores, the gun ranges, training groups, everybody involved in it. Go and pick up 50 voter registration forms at the voter registrar's office. Have them to your friend. Take them to your church. Take them to your social gatherings, whatever they are. And just make sure that the people you know are registered to vote. And do the mail-in ballot. Now, on the mail-in ballot, I like it because I'll send it in. You can still go in and vote. What happens is you'll get what's called a provisional ballot. You'll also get a notice in the mail that one of your ballots was counted. So if you have the ability to go, mail it in first. And then if you have the ability to go, you can go vote on a provisional ballot, and you'll be told which ballot was counted for you, but it's the only way you know your ballot was actually counted.
Right.
So
That's a
do
very
the
good
mail-in.
point. One of the things, too, that I've been challenging, I know I've talked about this on your show when I was on, which thank you for a couple weeks ago, but
I always enjoy having you.
I really think it's important that people understand this. I believe in walking your talk. And one of the things that I personally do is every election day, I go into work a couple hours late. I use some of my vacation time to do that. But I go and I take 10 other people to the polling place. I call up 10 people and say, hey, let's go do this together. This last time, I had 5 of them. We went and had breakfast. I paid for the breakfast to get them out there. Do I have to do that? Yeah, I actually do, because I have too many friends that are like, sure, I'm going to do it, and then they get sidetracked throughout that day of election day. If each of us accepts that challenge of taking 10 people to the polls, we will get those numbers up. And that's what I'm trying to get you, because if you can't get 10 of your friends and family members and coworkers to do something that's as important as voting with you, then you have bigger issues that would need to be handled. But each of us can do that. And if you're in a situation where, hey, Rick, I can't get out because I don't drive anymore or something like that, you can get, as through this process, 10 of your friends to sign up for the absentee ballot, the mail-in ballot. But that's what has to happen. We have to go out and get 10 of people we know to come vote with us. Because as you said, that has been the strategy of those that stand against us for a long time. And this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And we have to get back in the race with a serious thread, and we have to do more than 3%. We have to realize that together as gun owners, we make up the largest voting bloc in the state, but we're the largest voting bloc that doesn't vote. And that has got to change.
The Second Amendment crowd, a lot of us are individualists, right? I mean, we do our own thing. And so many times it's come down to, well, somebody else does that, or I'm not into this, and so forth. But this is our responsibility. What are you going to tell your child, your grandchild, your great-grandchild about the way we used to have the CRPA before it became an outlawed terrorist organization with his face at the post office? Yeah. Mine too, probably. So, what are you going to tell them when, I know that you can't go outside at night because there's so many bad people and you can't defend yourself, but we used to have these rights. We used to have a state called California. We used to be able to do A, B, C, and D. Those things are on the chopping block, and the only thing that's going to stop them is your involvement, and that's getting in, getting people registered to vote, taking responsibility for a territory. He's asking for 10 people. I'm saying I want people to run, say, the city of Covina. All right? There's gun stores in Covina. We need somebody to make sure those gun stores there know this program, are given their voter registration cards, helped out any way that they want. Salinas, Fresno, Yuba City, everybody up there. We need somebody in each of these cities that's going to pick this up. Costs you nothing. You get the voter registration forms for free. You deliver them for free. You're helping the gun store owners save their business. You're helping save your rights. So, this isn't a plea of, hey, send us $50,000, we'll do this for you. No, you need to get involved. This is how you save your rights for your family. Men, women, everybody.
So, Our listeners know how to contact us, and we'll help you guys out with this in Northern California. But if they're in the Inland Empire and they want to get involved
Anywhere
with
in Southern
this,
California.
Yeah, right. How would they go through contacting you to?
So the best bet would be our email, which is firinglineradio@gmail.com. Website is firinglineradio.com. It's on AM 590, The Answer, and those are the best ways to get a hold of me. I would say Facebook, but I don't know how long
Yeah.
we'll be on Facebook.
Let's not even talk about YouTube. So, is there anything you want to say to potential CRPA voters on our channel?
Yeah, I want to leave you with the hope that this can be done. This is not an impossible quest. We have to get this done, and it can be done. It's not out of our reach, and it just involves a little bit of effort from a lot of people to move this ball down the road, but get as many people as you know registered to vote early.
I'm going to close with a lot of our viewers and visitors often talk, like you said earlier in this interview, about people who I'm going to go to another state. And one of the states they love to quote to me is Texas. And I love to point out that Texas, when I was serving in the military, was not a Republican state. It wasn't a gun-friendly state. It was ran by Democrats.
What was it, Ann Richards?
Right.
Yeah.
And under Ann Richards, as a Democratic state, it was fairly anti-2A. They had an incident. Even Rick Perry, who became a very pro-2A and is currently our Secretary of Energy, at that time was a registered Democrat. And the voters inside Texas voted those people out, voted other people in, and changed the demographics of that state to where now people in California are like, well, I'm going to Texas because it's a gun-friendly state. Texans didn't leave Texas. Texans changed Texas. Californians don't need to leave California. We need to change it back to the way we want it, and we can do that with our vote.
Well, this is the best geographical place to live. Why are we ceding it?
Right. Why are we surrendering when we're not the minority?
Yeah, and there's no reason to. We can, from within, we can make these changes, but it takes involvement. It takes the ability to go to a party and talk to somebody rationally and calmly and say, listen, here's why you need these rights. Here's why you need to make this vote. Yeah, you're going to get a jury notice in the mail. Big deal. So you get to put a bad guy in jail. That's kind of a twofer for me. You know,
Yeah.
put me on the jury. I'm voting guilty. So you know, it's an important thing that you do your civic duty. It's not hopeless. And the other thing is, Texas right now is under siege. The progressives are trying to turn that state to another red state, or whatever, another progressive state.
Yeah, a blue state.
Red is in communism. Yeah, that one. They're trying to turn that into another state, and you know, you lose Texas, where are you then?
Phil, I want to thank you for being here, and I want to remind all of our viewers and those that are just joining us, failure is never an option when it comes to defending the Constitution. Thank you, Philip.
Thank you.